In Section 1 of Module 2, we'll be reviewing the types of HOPWA rental assistance programs that currently exist and have a thorough look at the advantages and disadvantages of each. Depending on the needs of this population, HOPWA rental assistance programs may be designed as transitional or permanent housing. Grantees and project sponsors should clearly define the length of time clients may continue receiving rental assistance and reflect any limitations in the program policies and in the client participation agreements. In order to receive HOPWA assistance, the client must meet two basic program requirements. They must have an HIV/AIDS medical diagnosis, and the household income must be at or below 80% of the area median income to meet the HOPWA eligibility criteria. Information on area median income, as determined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, is available at the link below this video. Now let's take a look at the different types of HOPWA rental assistance programs and the advantages and disadvantages of each. Tenant-based rental assistance is funding provided to an eligible client where the client selects a housing unit of his or her choice. If the client moves out of the unit, the contract with the owner ends, and the client can move with continued assistance to another unit. A big thing to note here is that tenant-based rental assistance moves with the client. The advantages of tenant-based rental assistance are that clients are able to make their own housing choice, maximizing independence. It enhances integration with the local community and provides flexibility to communities to increase their number of assisted units year to year. Some disadvantages to tenant-based rental assistance that you should keep in mind are that it may be more difficult for physically limited clients who are in need of more medical care, and assistance can be difficult to deliver in communities where the number of vacant housing units is low because clients are less likely to find appropriate housing. The next HOPWA rental assistance program we'll be looking at is project-based rental assistance. Project-based rental assistance is tied to the unit. HOPWA funds provide subsidy to the unit specifically reserved for HOPWA clients by paying for the operating costs of the unit. Because assistance is tied to the unit, clients may receive assistance only so long as they are eligible and reside at the project-based unit. The assistance does not go with the client when they move, although clients may be eligible for tenant-based rental assistance after leaving a project-based unit. As you can see in this slide, project-based rental assistance is often better for clients who have more complex needs. It's a way of providing a more permanent supply of housing for people living with AIDS, since project-based rental assistance units are designed for HOPWA clients. Disadvantages are that it does take more time for affordable housing to become available with development projects. Project-based rental assistance requires greater expertise and capacity, and clients do not have as much anonymity as they would if they were under the tenant-based rental assistance program. Next is the master leasing model, where an organization directly leases individual units, blocks of units, or an entire structure from a private owner. The lease is between the private owner and the leasing organization, aka the master tenant. The organization pays the total monthly rent for all units, fills the units through subleases or occupancy agreements with HOPWA-eligible households, and collects subtenant rental payments. Grantees and/or project sponsors may choose to add on utility costs with the rental assistance. However, the total of rent and utilities for the sublease rental amount must meet the rent reasonableness and rent standard requirements. Advantages to master leasing are that clients have an opportunity to a semi-independent living situation. There's a greater opportunity to maintain tenants and avoid eviction. It can assist clients who are unable to obtain a lease in their own name, and it also offers community integration. A major disadvantage for the funder is that master leasing requires a large outlay of funding, and the funder is responsible for filling the units in a timely manner. Short-term rent and utility is time-limited housing assistance designed to prevent homelessness and increase housing stability. Grantees may provide assistance for a period up to 21 weeks in any 52-week period. The amount of assistance varies per client depending on funds available, tenant need, and program guidelines. In order to receive short-term rent and utility payment assistance, clients must be housed and able to document occupancy, and they must be able to demonstrate they do not have the resources to pay rent, utilities, or anything else related to housing. Some eligible expenses include rent and mortgage assistance, which must be reasonable and represent actual housing costs. The amount of assistance provided is not limited to fair market rents or reasonable rent limits. Tenants are not required to pay 30% of their income towards the rent or mortgage payment. However, if they are able, clients should pay a portion of their housing costs, as any portion paid by the tenant does not count against the 21-week short-term rent and utility payment benefit ceiling. Other eligible expenses include late fees and other penalties if, in the event of non-payment, the household is at risk of eviction or loss of housing. Ineligible expenses include security deposit and first month rent. Short-term rent and utility payment assistance is designed to help homeowners and renters stay in their current place of residence. As a result, security deposits and first month's rent are not eligible costs under short-term rent and utility payment. However, these costs are eligible as permanent housing placement costs under the supportive services activity. Telephone expenses are another example of expenses that are not payable as a utility expense under short-term rent and utility payment. However, such expenses may be covered as a supportive service expense in limited circumstances. This concludes Section 1 of Module 2. We now ask that you complete the activity below to reinforce some of the material we have just reviewed before proceeding to Section 2.